Last week on the Poisonrana Patreon, we were joined by Michael Hamflett from What Culture Wrestling to talk all about SummerSlam 1994 in a brand new episode of Reviews from the Six. Brian Harris, who was fake Undertaker, was the best man of Mark Calloway at the wedding, and then had an affair with his wife.
So is this legit? I've spent at least 20 minutes, 30 minutes today trying to find at least someone to verify this, but all I'm seeing is that this is an alleged story, but it has been talked about on multiple things, but very strange. I can't find anyone actually confirming this. The Undertaker has never brought this up. I mean, he's only been out of character.
I'll ask him at his stand-up.
Yeah, one Dead Man show. Yo, is this legit? Someone needs to ask him this, and no one can actually confirm it. So, I mean, he's dead now.
Is he dead?
Not the Undertaker. I mean, yeah, Brian Lee, isn't he? He's passed away.
I don't think so.
Oh, shit, he's still alive. Someone needs to ask him this.
It's the Crush died. I think that's who you think.
Got you. Right, of course.
Brian Lee was never BSK.
Oh, well, that's why.
No, yeah.
Fuck the Undertaker's wife.
Yeah.
You fuck the Undertaker's wife, you're out of BSK for life.
Doesn't matter how good you are at Domino's if you're staring Undertaker's daughters. That's you can't.
Get this show plus NXT retro reviews, wrestling reviews, movie reviews, and so much more over at patreon.com/PoisonRana, and it's only $5. So what are you waiting for?
What are you waiting for, huh? What are you waiting for?
Poisonrana.
Hello. Braden Herrington here with Davie Portman for Poisonrana. You found us in whatever podcast app you are using right now. And of course, we are
live on youtube.com/@PoisonRanaPod. Hello, YouTube room. How we doing? What's going on?
Hello, YouTube room. Hello, Poison pals. Hello, wrestling friends. Hello, everyone out there. We're going to chat about some pro wrestling here today. If you're joining us, maybe live, thank you. Maybe you're watching the replay on YouTube. Yeah. Maybe you're listening podcast form. Maybe you're in your car.
Maybe it's 20 years from now and you've just downloaded this into your brain.
That'd be weird.
I wonder what happened in the week of August 11th, 2024.
If that's the case, hello. Yeah. Let us know how the future's going.
Yeah.
Yes. Hello. Welcome, people. It's a Sunday afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
It's time to talk about wrestling.
Yes.
We're feeling nice. We're feeling okay.
Feeling okay. Yeah. It's more wrestling going on. Just came off of SummerSlam from last week, which, I put up a little show last Saturday, kind of giving my thoughts on that. We talked a bit of it on the post show on upNXT on Tuesday. Yes, you can find us on Post Wrestling every Tuesday night after NXT for upNXT. But yeah, the wheel keeps spinning. We're now in the build to Bash in Berlin, which is quite a quick turnover for WWE. So a lot of movement this week in WWE for that. Obviously, All In Wembley is only a couple of weeks away. So we see that card really coming together now, and we'll be definitely diving into some AEW Dynamite to kick things off on this show. And then you've got the G1 where I've definitely fallen off of that. I'm definitely going to try and catch some of the highly recommended, but yeah, we're going to Cleveland last week. That completely threw my G watching schedule. And the N1's going on as well with some of our NXT favorites. So lots of wrestling. You've got Scott D'Amore creating a new promotion. TNA still doing their thing. MLW might still exist. I don't know.
It never did.
Ring of Honor exists as well.
It's a lot of wrestling.
There's a lot of wrestling.
It never really stops, and it feels like it's a hot time still, and everything's going all cylinders firing for every promotion, it seems. And I'm the same. G1, usually I cherry pick. This year is very, very limited cherries that I'm picking for the G1. I'd say that we'll maybe get into, because the stuff that I have watched has been pretty good. I'm cheating though. I'm skipping majority of a lot of it. So I definitely am just a little cheater there. But what about the Olympics? Have you watched any of that or seen anything else? Because I know there's some wrestling.
I saw that Olympics. German suplex from the silver medalist, Kennedy.
Man, that
Blades, is it, or something like that? She's got a wrestling name already.
Yeah,
Kennedy Blades. What a name. That German suplex was a thing of beauty, winning the silver medal. But I'm enjoying the Olympics.
I don't know what was more devastating, that German suplex or Ray Gun from Australia representing breakdancing.
Yes.
In what might be my new favorite thing that I've ever seen is this white girl from Australia being entered in the first time, and probably because of her, the last time the Olympics allow breakdancing in their categories. And a white girl from Australia did not win a medal. In fact, I just silence every time she went up there, which was just so deafening. Like, I've watched this video quite a few times and I've been obsessed with the memes, but like, what happened?
Isn't she pretending to be a crocodile at one point or something?
She was
like
doing
that?
the Thriller dance. She was doing the creep. She was doing, I don't know what the hell she was doing, but it ultimately the medals didn't go to Australia for breakdancing.
Unfortunately,
that was odd.
We had some of the breakdancing on at work yesterday, and there were people at the bar going like, "How is this a sport?" And all that. And I would argue against that, because I think there's like, I mean, we cover wrestling, which a whole lot of people don't understand and don't get. And I think like anything that's sort of performance based and competitive is a sport. You have breakdancing competitions. There's obviously ways to judge it that we don't know. But I'm pretty sure neither of us have ever done breakdancing in our life, you know, or whatever.
We'd still get the same amount of points as Ray Gun.
As Australia, yes. But yeah, so I have no issue with being a sport. I think it's great that there's that the Olympics are embracing these other categories. Like we had, you know, skateboarding being introduced in, I think, the last Olympics and things like that. And why not? I think you want to try and encourage people who have these other passions to kind of, you know, if you pursue it, like you could be in the Olympics and stuff. Personally, I have no interest in watching, you know, Olympic basketball, Olympic tennis, Olympic sports that are on all year round anyway. Right. I always find the tennis funny. Like, you just had Wimbledon, the biggest tournament of the year, and then it's the Olympics, and it's like, okay. Whereas, yeah, like gymnastics, I think is awesome to watch. The diving, I always enjoy. Sure, the breakdance, anything where there's a flip. You know, I'm a wrestling fan.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Flips over fists. But yeah, I really enjoy that stuff.
I thought the breakdancing was weird and interesting, but then when you watch like the actual, like, I loved Ray Gunn, but ironically, and I think she's gonna have a whole career because of this thing, so I think she'll be fine. But either she was trolling or someone let her get on this team that like.
But you've seen that before in it's maybe it's still kind of embarrassing, but you've seen it before where it's, you know, a long distance race or whatever, and you've got, you know, your USAs, your Great Britains, your Jamaicas, like all the fast runners, and then you get like someone representing Azerbaijan and they're like 20 seconds behind the rest of the pack. And it's just, we had one year where a swimmer won a medal because I'm pretty sure everyone got disqualified for like false starts, and they were just like swimming like you or I would swim. And like, it's a way of, you put forward the best your country has, and I guess Australia not overly known for their breakdancing.
So like, I checked out the gold the finals of the men's breakdancing, where this Canadian guy from Vancouver, Phil Wizard, won for breakdancing, and you watch him and you're like, okay, that's insane.
What's with all these wrestling
names? Wrestling names.
Sorry, what's his name?
Phil Wizard.
Phil Wizard.
Yeah, he's sick.
You got Kennedy Blades.
Yeah.
These are all
Shawn Michaels
coming
just rubbing his
hands, near you.
rubbing his hands together, salivating. You know, Shawn is watching the Olympics.
You're 100% going to see some of these athletes in a next in line program, in the signing up to the PC and all that. 100%.
Yeah. There's definitely been a few that have stood out, but and then Canada getting silver in beach volleyball. We lost to Brazil.
I have been following that. That was on TV a lot. I wonder why. But yeah, lost to Brazil.
Yeah,
that's a shame.
We all know that was going to happen, so it's okay. But that's our coverage today. It ends, I think, isn't it?
Oh, is it today?
As soon as you see Tom Cruise jump off something, that's when you know it's over. So when we see that happen,
and then I guess Paralympics starts next
week.
Yeah,
Paralympics, and then that's it for now. And then there's, I don't know, what other things to watch.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, football's starting again, isn't it?
oh yes, that's when things get pretty crazy.
I know it's preseason right now.
I know what you're going to be watching in probably about a year time. Toy Story 5.
Is it absolutely confirmed and announced now?
They gave a little teaser of what it's going to look like. It looks like they're going with. I know you're a deep Toy Story fan, and the Disney thing was this weekend, and they put out a trailer for live action Snow White, which looked pretty not great, to be honest. But then a teaser for quote unquote live action Lilo and Stitch, which I think the Stitch looked pretty awesome. So I'll definitely have to check that out. But then they released like their lineup, like their universe,
their slate.
And Toy Story 5 looked like they're going off an old Toy Story script where they scrapped it, where it's like all these evil buzzes are like reprogrammed or something.
Evil what?
Buzz Lightyear.
Oh, okay.
And now they're going to be the villain. But like, didn't some characters kind of disappear in the last movie? So
well, the toys stayed with the girl, and I think Woody just didn't. Did he go? He just ran away. He said goodbye. I remember him saying goodbye to the toys.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm pretty sure he just went off to live in the
woods.
In the woods.
Woody in the woods?
No, like it was did he go to stay at the toy store or something like that? Didn't he?
I don't remember.
He definitely separated from them. But
so there's also an image circulating where it shows the new enemy is the kids using tablets now instead of wanting to play with toys.
Right.
So they're like, oh man, like toys aren't.
I want it like, since giving up his toys, Andy's like gone down some like dark path.
And they need to save him.
He's in prison.
Whoa.
And he needs his toys to rehabilitate him and get him out of jail.
It sounds better than kind of what they got going.
We've said, I remember when Toy Story 4 came out and we chatted about that. We were saying about how Toy Story might be the greatest original trilogy. And what I mean by that is I don't count like Lord of the Rings, which are the 3 books adapted to movies. I'm talking, you came up with the concept of a film, i.e. like a Star Wars or whatever, and you go, that was good. Let's do that again. And let's do that again. And I think even the great films we all talk about, like Back to the Future or The Godfather or Star Wars, there's ones that are maybe not as good as the others.
Right.
And I thought the Toy Story trilogy was like damn near perfect. And then they announced the 4th, and there's that trepidation about, are you going to taint your legacy a bit with this? And I thought 4 was fantastic.
Yeah.
So now I'm kind of, all right, I trust you. I trust what you're doing. If you're going to make 5, it's going to be good.
Don't wreck the perfect.
It has. Name me a better series of movies.
No,
as high quality as
pretty
Toy
good.
Story.
So
yeah,
we'll see. They also announced Moana 2, Moana live action, both with The Rock in it.
Okay.
Incredibles 3, which Incredibles 2 was actually pretty incredible.
I don't think I saw the second.
Zootopia 2, Frozen 3, and Freaky Friday 2. Freakier Friday. It's about to get even freakier.
Is Lindsay still in it?
Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis.
They're
back together. Movie's gonna make billions of dollars.
Gotcha.
On Disney Plus.
Yes.
I think that'll be a Disney Plus one for sure. But yeah, that's kind of some movies that have been like I've been enjoying the Disney stuff. Technically they've been doing Marvel, and they just made $1 billion with Wolverine and Deadpool with a rated R movie. So.
I did watch Hot Ones.
Nice, yes.
What a pair of pussies.
Yeah, you couldn't take anything.
Fuck, it was like the garlic Fresno, which we have now. In Cleveland last week, I think we mentioned it on upNXT, but there's this market there. I think it's called West Side Market, kind of similar to our St. Lawrence, and
West Side.
I was told that's where you can get some good hot sauces. Yeah. And there was this incredible stall there, and I wasn't even going looking for the Hot Ones stuff. I was like, I want to pick up some stuff exclusive to Cleveland, and they had all these labels on them, which was like Cleveland's own. So I went through, pick. It's either what like just sounds interesting, what's got a cool name, or the label. Like I like a good label on my sauces. So picked up a bunch of them, and then saw The Last Dab. And I know they changed The Last Dab each season.
Okay.
This was the Apollo one, made from the Apollo pepper, and got their like level 1 hot sauce, which is the classic garlic Fresno, which says on the bottle it's a 2 out of 10 on the heat scale. And then I watched Jean Valjean, Wolverine, just sobbing as he's trying to eat this garlic wing, and I was like, "Oh boy!"
To be fair,
everything I build in my head again about you, Hugh. You're a superhero, and you do musical theater, and you.
I think the musical theater gave it away.
You look like that at the age of like what 50 odd,
yeah.
And man, you're crying over a garlic wing. Oh,
it's because his tongue heals all the time, so it just it's a new tongue.
I think it would be better.
Yeah, I feel like he couldn't take it, like any of it, which some people just can't, and I get it. But wow.
Fair play to him as well. He was like tapping out early, but was still taking huge bites.
He would still he ate all of it. Yeah, like he ate the bomb,
and he chose to go back to the bomb.
Yeah,
for the last sauce, didn't he?
He was
like, let's do the bomb and the last stab. But
yeah, I kind of want them to make another movie.
I think they will.
Like they wrote him off twice now.
Like,
how can you make another movie with him?
He's got to. I mean, like
spoilers
but he didn't die or anything, did he? They just kind of said cheerio. They left him in the woods with Woody.
No, like spoilers, Wolverine, Deadpool, but you should have seen it already. No, it ends with him and his daughter with Deadpool at the end in his apartment hanging out. So like he's alive.
Yeah. Like he needs to be in the Avengers at some
absolutely
point.
With
like
Toby.
There's no way, like if you've got him in this Disney MCU now, there's no way you can't have him in the Avengers in the
Secret
suit.
Wars.
Come on.
Yeah. I want the orange and thing suit. The orange suit was crazy. Like
now we're just being greedy.
yeah. I thought that was my favorite look. Like we haven't really discussed, but the flashbacks through the multiverses of Logan's, like as the comic book nerd in me, it was like mini, like, oh my God, I can't believe they did that. Oh my God. The suit, the orange suit with the reflection of the Hulk was like a fucking mark out moment. The 80s hair Wolverine with the like chopped off hand. I had that toy as a kid. I'm like, oh my God. On the cross with the skulls. I'm like crazy. Henry Cavill.
Yes.
Also big reaction. But those like that whole sequence was just like so hilarious, so funny, and like crowd servicing to like a T. Yeah. And then on top of that, the Johnny Storm.
Yeah. Like I read nothing about this. I think I saw the first teaser trailer, like the Super Bowl one.
Right.
And that was it. Like
wow.
And I've started to be better at not like seeing spoilers. Like I'm not necessarily intentionally trying to avoid them. I'm just, I don't know. They're not finding me as all I'm getting is and maybe that's Elon just wanting me to vote Trump, even though like, you know, because that's all my Twitter feed seems to be. And I don't even follow the cunt. Yeah. Yeah, like it's but yeah, I managed to avoid everything. So you know, Blade showing up and Elektra and I thought the Johnny Storm moment was the best. It was such a great tease, and they're playing the Captain America theme underneath, and then it's flame
him
on.
Swearing and Deadpool reacting like, wait a second, and you're kind of watching it, wait a second, and then it's so good. And then Blade was just a huge like reaction, like out of nowhere. It felt like a Royal Rumble, this movie. It was just like appearances from all these different people, and that was great. But like the daughter was fantastic. You know, Channing, all the like the little surprises were so good, and there was so much fan service that like I left the movie being like, wow, I can't believe finally. Like I remember begging my mom, and she took me to see X-Men like 1 in theaters, and I was young, and I was like, holy shit, like this, can't believe Wolverine is in a live action movie. And like I know Blade came out before that, but that's the movie that right away Hollywood was like, okay, let's make money. Let's make all these movies. Like X-Men was the like,
it's like X-Men and Spider-Man were
around
the same time that really kind of, okay, we can do this and we can make it. And it's funny how long it took, because I thought it was quite smart with the original X-Men film, you know, not doing the costumes and having it somewhat like, I mean, we've seen that with, you know, Captain America. He wears the goofy Captain America suit for like the propaganda stuff during the war, but then they give him a proper like military looking suit that is a bit less goofy.
Yeah.
But I think having that length of time, I mean, what we're talking like 20 years,
20 something years
before you're like, no, we need to see these costumes now. They give them to you kind of in first class, don't they?
Yeah.
But that even then it's like, oh, but this is like the baby X-Men.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I definitely would say, yeah, X-Men and Spider-Man, they did a great job in the early 2000s in revitalizing this thing.
I went down a rabbit hole, and I've heard this before, but I like deep read different articles and stuff about it, that Spider-Man was that X-Men was originally attached to them trying to get off the ground like in the 90s, because they thought with the special effects we had in the 90s we could pull it off. And there was ties to James Cameron, which then turned from X-Men into Spider-Man. And this is where I went down this crazy rabbit hole, that James Cameron for so long had this like Spider-Man script, and it was supposed to be like gritty and almost rated R, and he had this crazy vision for it. And this was like before Titanic, I'd imagine, right? And then it just never went off the ground. But like some of the stuff reading into it about like his ideas and everything was just like another universe with all this multiverse thing. Like that could have been something so crazy.
Have you ever seen Entourage?
Like not fully, but I have watched some.
They do that whole story in it
in an episode
where what's his name? Vincent Chase, who's like the main actor in Entourage. He is in Aquaman 1.
Right.
Directed by James Cameron.
Right.
And then there's a bit of a falling out, and they bring Jake Gyllenhaal in for Aquaman 2. And, well, obviously there's, as you said, and the Aquaman is basically meant to be Spider-Man in the show. And obviously, as you said, James Cameron was attached with Spider-Man originally, but also the whole Tobey Maguire back thing.
Right.
And then they're like, okay, we'll just bring in Jake Gyllenhaal to play Spider-Man, which Toby was then like, oh, actually, I think, I've had a few aspirin, I'm all right. But it's quite funny, like you saying that, it's clear there's so many like in Hollywood jokes in that show,
right?
Where like, anyone who's like, oh, I had no idea Harvey Weinstein was such a piece of shit. It's like, well, everyone in this show clearly does. Because there's a character definitely based on him, and there's a character based on the owner of TKO, Ari Emanuel.
Oh,
that's the Jeremy Piven.
Okay,
character.
Yeah. Whatever happened to that guy?
Jeremy Piven.
Did you have like a thing against him?
He sort of had a thing against him, and then I got given tickets to see him at Yuck Yucks, and sold better than we did there. So.
Okay, yeah. So he's doing all right.
Yeah. But yeah, I found it funny in that Hot Ones where Hugh is saying like, I like done my retirement. I was good with it. I decided Logan, this is the best way to end. And then like a week later, Deadpool 1 comes out, and I'm like, fuck, I kind of want to do that. It's like I'm trying to think who the wrestler would be, but Bryan Danielson being like, right, I'm done.
Yeah,
the book's closed. I'm happy. And then AEW signs someone, and he's like, fuck.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's because the straight character with the like goofy character.
Oh,
right?
It always works.
Like it connects. Like he name drops so many movies that they were inspired from. You can totally see like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Like the straight
100%.
character, the more crazy.
It always works. We see it in wrestling all the time, don't we? You get the goofball with the like super serious guy, and it always creates this like incredible chemistry between the two. And I think it helps where these two are clearly boys as well.
Yeah.
Just must be having so much fun, and there must be so much improv on a Deadpool, more so than you maybe get in some of the other Marvel films.
I bet there'll be lots of outtakes or deleted scenes coming out of this movie. Like it was pretty long, but it had so much packed into it. And I kind of want them to make another one. If they do this Secret Wars movie, it'd be crazy if you had like different versions of different characters, Wolverine, Spider-Man, etc. So that could be cool. Doom as well with Robert Downey Jr. So like, they're you know what? The Captain America movie looks pretty good too, with Harrison Ford and Anthony Mackie as the new Cap.
I enjoyed that series. I definitely fell off all the Marvel stuff.
Me too.
With the shows, like I'm sure there's good stuff I'm missing out on. It was just it felt like the G1 to me. You know, I started right. I'm going to try and keep up with this, and then life gets in the way and you miss a couple of shows, and then it's suddenly day 14 in the G1 and you're like, oh, okay, I've missed 9 shows. And I felt like that with both the both the Marvel and the Star Wars thing. You might have noticed we don't do the Star Wars reviews as much as we used to, but
the shows aren't
it's
as
fucking
good.
hard
Shown
to
as
do, yeah.
important anymore, right? Like they made it bloated. They did the WWE thing. More is more.
More is more.
Yeah, and it definitely. I haven't watched any of the Marvel shows or.
I
since,
do
like,
I do somewhat appreciate it with Marvel though, because it is the structure of the comic books, isn't it? Like
Right.
you can just collect your Avengers comics
Yeah.
every month, and then you're like, oh well, I like Spider-Man, so I'll collect Spider-Man and Avengers,
Right.
and then it's, oh, Spider-Man's in this crossover with Iron Man for a little bit, well, I'll get Iron Man, and then, oh, Thor, like what's going on there? And I feel that's what they're doing with the MCU, where you can just dip in and watch Deadpool and Wolverine and understand it and enjoy it, but there is more kind of the deeper down you go, that it's more rewarding for you, and your super diehard fans who, you know, where we spend our time consuming wrestling, they're spending their time consuming Marvel, and you do get that little bit more out of it. So I wouldn't say don't make them, but yeah, it's definitely like I've got to the point with it where I'm like, okay, I know what I'm watching now.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll get round to Loki season 2 when I'm ill again next time.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, probably won't, but I definitely thought this movie made the interest levels back. Like, okay, if you did this so well, like what's next for you guys? And it just made $1 billion like this week. So like that's pretty insane. Biggest R-rated movie ever. Like ever.
Yeah.
So pretty cool to see that. And Disney. You heard the thing about Ryan Reynolds. They had a meeting with Disney, fought for the movie to be rated R. Said like you can't make a Deadpool movie if it's not rated R, and we could joke on the Disney stuff. And Disney's like, sure, you're allowed to swear, you're allowed to say any bad words, but under no circumstances can you use cocaine in the movie. And they're like, okay, cool, bet. Go home, and they wrote the cocaine joke right away. First thing he said in the movie is like, we wrote that joke right after that meeting. So and Disney were like, yeah, like fuck. I don't think they're they're laughing all the way to the bank now. So
they're doing all right.
yeah, exactly. So definitely revitalized my love for the like comic book lore kind of stuff. So that was definitely the movie of the summer, and it'll continue to be why I need to see Twisters still before it leaves the cinemas, because I heard it's really good in the big theater, but I haven't had a chance to. And I can't think of there's some other stuff that's coming out that's been teased, but nothing.
We'll be getting there wasn't there a horror film coming out soon, I think.
I saw Long
'Cause I
Legs. I
remember-
like that.
Yeah, okay. I mean, we'll be getting all the like Halloween-y stuff soon,
True.
I guess.
Yeah.
And then it's moving towards like Christmas time and Oscar bait and all that again, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Bit of housekeeping. That's our 2-week delayed Deadpool chat.
Yes.
Bit of housekeeping. We did drop a new episode of Was Next this week on the Poisonrana Patreon, looking at the April 10th, 2014 edition of NXT, featuring a forgotten Bayley versus Sasha Banks match. Bo Dallas trying to stage what do they call it?
Occupy
NXT. Mojo Rawley in action.
Yeah, that's not selling anyone. But Brodus Clay in the best acting of his life in this
he's on a hell of a run in NXT.
Yeah, before it all goes to shit. Before he goes to Fox News.
He should have strapped this guy up, not the
exactly
the other guy.
So yeah, we chatted about some old NXT, which was always pretty fun, and we chat what else was going on. You were at the Access, you were at WrestleMania 30 around that time, so that's always fun to chat about our old experiences from like over 10 years ago at this point. As you may have heard off the top, we did our SummerSlam 1994 review, which was awesome, joined by Michael Hamflett, talking about SummerSlam 94, talking about Taker v. Taker. If you haven't listened to that show, it is quite a laugh, so please check it out. Yeah, for sure. Definitely worth your $5 alone for the three of us joking about for a while.
And this week, we're going to be very busy with the debut of our brand new show, The Champ is Here, where we're going to be looking every episode. This is a 16, maybe 17 month project we're starting, where we'll be looking at every single Cena title run, obviously starting with his first win at WrestleMania 21. And we're going to be having guests join us every month for this show, starting off with Andrew Thompson, the youngest in charge, and Nate Milton to talk all about
the birthday
John
boy.
Cena. Happy birthday, Nate.
Happy birthday, Nate. We're going to celebrate by making him talk to us about John Cena this week. Yeah, I'm so excited about this show. Cena, whether you loved him or hated him over the past few, 2 decades, 20 plus years of wrestling in WWE and becoming what I'd say a household name and outside of wrestling as well. We're going to go back and go through his entire career. So this first episode is going to be lengthy because we're going to chat about Cena's like debut, some of his raps, some of his older matches, and then his big first world title win, and maybe even a match or two after that. But
absolutely,
even more importantly, we're going to chat about how Nate really loves the John Cena album.
Lovely.
We're going to chat about that too. So your homework is to watch a few John Cena music videos as well.
Yes.
Because we're going to be chatting everything John Cena. And in fact, I'll put up a feedback thread by the time you're listening to this, because I'm going to take all first few years of John Cena from 02 to like 05, his title win. Give me all your thoughts. Would love to hear it.
Yeah, we've got quite the playlist for this. We've got kind of the optional stuff, supplementary viewing, like your Disney Plus TV series of John Cena, and then we've got the big moments that we're going to be talking about on this episode. Patrons are going to get an advanced release of episode 1 and with the video version as well, and then we'll be releasing this episode a little bit later on the Post Wrestling feed for free to give, because we want everyone to enjoy this first one. But then moving forward, majority of this show is going to be on the Patreon for our lovely patrons. And yeah, I'm really excited. We're kind of going, if you've listened to our Poison profiles we've done before, it's kind of going to be in that vein, but looking very specifically at each kind of title period that we've had, and maybe discuss how it as the show goes on, kind of which reigns we prefer over others, which were more impactful moments in Cena's career, because he definitely had a few flip-floppy titles as well during that period. So super excited talking with Nate and Andrew all about this.
And we're going to have to ask every single guest on these shows what their favorite John Cena t-shirt is.
Yes.
Because there's a lot to choose.
Mine's the colorful one.
Yeah.
It says, it says you can't see me and hustle.
The one that says hustle, loyalty, respect on it. Yeah, that's right. I'm going to bust out some Cena shirts for this show.
Nice.
I gave away a lot of them, sadly. So.
I've never had a Cena shirt.
I've had quite a few, but again, I've donated a lot of them away.
But we'll be dressed as Cena in Boston next December. Right?
We'll go dress this. We have the spinner. You just need to buy some shirts, some armbands.
I definitely I assume they'll do it in Boston. Maybe they'll do it at MSG or something.
Yeah, that would be.
They always do the Christmas show, don't they, in MSG? So I could see maybe them tying that with his retirement.
Right.
But that's a show I think I definitely want to attend in person. Especially, we did the best match ever Sting with brother Nate, and after that I was like, I gotta go to North Carolina. Gotta go. But yeah, very excited for this show. And then World Champs, get your picks in. What do you want us to talk about? Yes, we have a show called Up Yours where World Champ family members get to pick stuff, and some of you guys haven't replied, so we're not sure what we're doing next. So if you're thinking, hey, you guys haven't come to me in a while, please let us know, message us and let us know what your picks are so we can schedule this and do some of them. And maybe you're like, oh, I'm thinking of joining. We'll join because you'll get to pick something and you'll get to join us to review something, but you also get access to Behind the BDE, which is a show we do once a month where we get very rated R with it. And I hope you enjoy them, because we'll probably have a new one coming out very soon. So we open every show talking about cocaine, don't we? Aliens, cowboys, all the fun stuff. So yes, lots and lots of podcasts. Poison Rana in your social media. Search that in your podcast app if you haven't already. Hit that subscribe, YouTube, all that fun stuff. Appreciate all the love. But yes, can't wait for the John Cena show. Can't wait for Up Next this week. And can't wait to talk about some wrestling. Yeah. Which we're going to do right now. We're on the road to All In. Are you all in? A couple of Dynamites away from AEW All In London 2. I forgot. We're not done plugging. We're not done shilling yet, because we have something to plug revolving around All In. Oh, of course. Which, of course, we got to mention here. If you're in the Toronto area or GTA area, you got to come to our All In watch party
at Wide Open on Spadina in downtown Toronto. Yes, August 25th, Sunday at 1 p.m. Look at that. Look how glorious. All these Brits complaining about wrestling at an odd time.
Yeah.
Look at this. 1 p.m. on a Sunday. We're going to hang out at Wide Open and watch the grabs.
People will still say it's too long and I was tired.
It's too early. It's too on too early. Yeah. Well, then the other people will be like, oh, it was up against Coronation Street, the ratings, you know. So, yes, Wide Open, Toronto. We're going to have All In on the screens. We're going to have some wrestling drink specials. We're going to hang out and get funky and get froggy with it. And we're going to have fun watching AEW All In. We just had our watch party for SummerSlam last weekend. If you're listening to this, thank you for showing up if you were there. And a few people showed some interest. So we decided our living room is usually fun for when we have parties, but we wanted to hang out with all our friends as much as possible. So if you are thinking about it, get your ticket before it sells out, because this bar is a little tinier than we usually do them at.
Yeah, absolutely. The Wide Open isn't the biggest spot. There are very limited spaces available, but it's going to be quite the party in there if you come and show up. Obviously, sound on blasting, so you can sing along with all your favorite themes. It's no food at Wide Open, but you feel free to bring in your own food. There's a bunch of places nearby. There's like a shawarma spot a couple of doors down, a Cubano spot next door.
Yeah.
We've got pizza just a couple of doors down. Lots of food options, McDonald's, etc. So come hang out. Very reasonably priced drinks, and with the some of the best bartenders in the city and all your favorite wrestling friends. So
Absolutely.
Come along. Only $5 to secure your spot. Spaces are limited, so get your tickets quickly, because we may not be able to guarantee you an entry on the day.
Yes, absolutely. If you're like, oh, I'll just go on the day and they'll let me in, it's a possibility you won't be able to get in, because we are expecting some peeps to show up. So Toronto friends, we'd love to see you there. And hey, maybe you want to be there in spirit. Well, you can be, but don't buy a ticket if you're not going.
Yes. Oh, you can.
Yeah. But what are you going to do about the espresso martinis? Because a Sunday afternoon is a good time to have espresso martinis. And the last time we did it at the cash-in for Money in the Bank weekend here, we had the espresso martini. And now I think it's time for the timeless espresso martoni.
Oh, my word.
That doesn't
Jesus.
work. Timeless espresso martoni.
I mean, I'm wondering, I got to chat with Shannon, our friend, the owner of Wide Open, see what we can get going. But some bubbly for Tony would be pretty nice.
Bubbly for Tony?
Okay. Bottles of bubbly. And I feel we need some sort of tea-themed drink. You know, It's London. It's
the patriarch
I think we need something with gin. Gin being in London, I'm feeling.
Right.
A
Pimm's.
I could do a sort of a knockoff Pimm's cup.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll have to get chatting, but we'll have some lovely wrestling themed drinks, and we will shake it up a bit. But I think Sunday afternoon, the espresso martinis always work. So if you can think of your espresso martoni puns, whatever works.
Espresso martoni storms. Espresso martoni.
Espresso Shivani. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
but yeah. The os cutter.
We have had an os cutter. Chris Leone's suggesting a mushy peas themed drink.
Oh yeah.
Like, is that cultural appropriation?
Yeah, I don't know.
Mr. America.
Hot take. I like mushy peas, but not in a drink. So no.
Yeah. Like what? Instead of like horseradish for your Caesar, you just throw mushy peas.
God. Yeah. You'd puke it back up. It would look like mushy peas. The Exorcist. That's what I think of when I see mushy peas. Unless it's on like a nice meat pie. But yes, let us know your pun ideas for all in drinks,
because it's coming up very quickly. So
yes,
got to get this menu done. But let's go into AEW. We are on the road to All In, and we had a big episode of Dynamite this week, furthering a lot of the feuds, starting with MJF Kyle Fletcher in a pretty good opening match, I thought, on Dynamite this week, and continuing the build for Ospreay MJF.
Yeah, absolutely. They got a really solid card, I think, for All In, and they're trying their best to fight through. I feel like there's still this like anti-AEW crowd. And I say that because we just had a bar full of people and trying to talk to different fans from all over who are like, yeah, I kind of just fell off a little bit in the last little while. And it seems like that's just a reoccurring thing with AEW, whether it's the crowd, the ratings, whatever. But when I watch the show, it's still a very entertaining show. Dare I say I still enjoy it more so than some of the stuff WWE has been putting out lately. And I'm not necessarily saying this is better than that, but they still have been promoting some of the stories for All In very well. And I thought Dynamite was a solid show. You had Danielson, who basically has this sit down with JR that JR look.
We're hopping around here.
Sorry,
Let's go in order here.
Was this on Dynamite though?
Yeah. But let's start with MJF Ospreay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Ospreay and MJF, like I thought the matches on Dynamite were pretty good, and Kyle Fletcher is definitely one of their up and coming stars, especially being aligned with Ospreay. But I'm still enjoying MJF. I still think he's a solid heel, and he makes people, interested in the story. And the first time these guys wrestled, they went an hour. I think the only thing is like, yeah, you gave us such an amazing match a few weeks ago, is now you want us to promote this as one of your big matches. And you did that last year with MJF. And I think it didn't necessarily work last year. So I'm wondering, they're not getting an hour at All In. So they're definitely going 30 minutes, and you're seeing the Tiger Driver get hit for sure this time around. So I think the whole Tiger Driver bit is kind of silly, but I think we will get a banger of a match between the two. And I still think MJF is a solid heel in AEW.
I enjoyed the first match. I am looking forward to this, but I'm hating this build, to be honest. I think it's 2 years in a row they've kind of messed up Ospreay's booking going into All In. Last year you had a very recently turned Chris Jericho turning heel to babyface.
Did make sense.
To feud with Will Ospreay, who's going to be your biggest local star in Wembley. Ospreay's coming out with Don Callis as a heel. All everyone wants to do is cheer Ospreay and boo Jericho. Just the whole thing was backwards and didn't make sense. And I think they've done the same this time. I think MJF turning heel, but is essentially doing the same shtick he was as a babyface, because he was kind of the Eddie Guerrero babyface.
Yeah.
It's like I'm your scumbag. Trying to do pro-America stuff in one of the most patriotic countries in the world, as a heel. You're just getting these crowds chanting USA. And then you have Ospreay come out as the foreigner in the USA, defending the USA against MJF, being like, no, I love America. And having Kyle being like, I moved here and I met my girlfriend in America and stuff like that. To kind of be like, okay, we are not American, but we're your baby faces, and you should be cheering us to win this American championship. To then go to the UK, which isn't overly patriotic about, and we're bored to fucking tears of USA versus foreign country. It's just making it backwards. I think MJF's getting cheers where he should be getting boos in this build. Ospreay is and I've been enjoying his promo work quite a bit since coming to AEW, but I feel it's an uphill battle with him trying to make sense of this story to try and get people on his side. And I think it's being somewhat successful, because I think wrestling fans a lot of the time just do what they're told to do when cheering or booing, but it's not the level of kind of positive reaction he's been getting prior to this feud. And then, as you said, we've been given the hour-long match already, which was fantastic and a great match, and definitely one of my favorite TV matches of the year. But now you've got the sort of goal of trying to top that match in a shorter amount of time with more of a bloated card. So I think when the bell rings, I'm going to enjoy this again. But for me, the booking just isn't solid for this.
I find
it's throwing too many obstacles in.
Yeah.
Making this less
but you know what,
as it could be.
You know what? I don't think it's great. Don't get me wrong. But I think you kind of described so generic of WWE to be like, hey, look, this guy's a different country. Let's make him a heel.
Yeah.
where I think it's actually trying the opposite because the event is in Wembley. When he shows up, in his USA attire, like he's going to get booed and get a great reaction that he's looking for. So I think that's all to set up for that like big, like USA moment in another country. And I think it's just going to get Will Ospreay one of the biggest reactions of the night. And like you said, the match will be great. It will end with the Tiger Driver, whether it's MJF hitting it or Ospreay hitting it, but the match will be good. But
I find it very low hanging fruit when you
it's MJF
when
lately,
you compare. Yeah, and I think that's where he's fallen off for me. It's always low hanging fruit right now. And when you think back to his feud with Punk and how deep that went, the stuff about him tricking Punk into feeling sorry for him because he would talk about how he's being bullied and stuff. That was the kind of depth and detail I really liked with MJF, and I think he's lost that really since he turned babyface last year. And it's just, I'm going to the UK. Well, let's be pro America, and also it's Ospreay being like, I'm the workhorse here. MJF is meant to be the lazy one, and he's defended this title at Rev Pro. He's defended it at SCMLL.
Today at Rev
he's
Pro,
defended this title in more promotions than other people that have held this title have defended it. So again, that is like a layer of it where I'm like, okay, but he's not being lazy. He's traveling the world defending this, where Ospreay didn't.
Yeah. I still find MJF really entertaining, and I find Ospreay too. And I think maybe it's kind of similar to last year, where it's like you gave us the match and then you want us to be excited about it again, where it's like now we kind of want to move on from that. And it's like, I don't know. I see Ospreay maybe losing, so therefore he can be, going into the world title picture down the line or whatever. But I think once it starts, it'll be fantastic. I see Chris Jones in the chat right now says, MJF coming out as Apollo Creed on the Taylor Swift stage to Living in America will be worth the admission price alone. Exactly what I'm trying to get at is like, he's going to have this grand entrance, I'm sure, and try to get like the whole stadium against him. And I think that'll work and will be quite a spectacle. And I think that's the gimmick of him going to Mexico, going to the UK for this title defense, is like trying to really do the US thing. But really, it's like you're a really good wrestler though, so it's hard to like boo you. But at this point in AEW, as long as you get a reaction, I think that's a good thing, because they have so many characters. When you watch Dynamite or Collision, or dare I say you watch Rampage, there's so many crickets for so many characters that like you watch WWE and these like crowds are going mental. And you get it, don't get me wrong, and you will at like Wembley, but there's a lot of quiet when you watch Dynamite. And even MJF and Ospreay get not like the crazy reactions. Maybe there's just not enough people at these events. But I would say that's not the most hyped like feud going, but I know that the match will be good.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be better than MJF Adam Cole from last year.
Oh, I didn't like that match.
I didn't hate it. Don't get me wrong. I liked it, but like we saw it already and it was weird. And like we beat that one to death, but like it's at least it's not in that like way. Hopefully, I don't know. But
we had Mariah May squashing your favorite wrestler,
Viva Van, which I mean she got beat pretty quickly here, but I hope they maybe sign her down the line. She's been doing a lot of other stuff with New Japan, but she's definitely someone I've been watching for a while. One of the only Vietnamese wrestlers wrestling, really. So I think that's pretty cool. And I think there's a good argument maybe a week ago to say Mariah May and Toni Storm could be the main event of Wembley. I don't think that's the case anymore with a certain storyline.
I don't think so. I think this feud has had the issue of maybe peaking a little too early and then not having the best follow-up. I think the angle with Mariah turning on Toni is one of the best angles of the year.
Yeah.
And I think they built it like really nicely, so it was as impactful as it could possibly be once they did it. I think since then, I don't think the follow-up has been quite as strong.
Yeah.
We need, hopefully, on these go-home editions of Dynamite, we have a real good like face-to-face and a solid promo battle. I think Toni's character at this point has gotten a little bit in the way of it. Like I'd like to see her
break kayfabe.
Maybe, yeah. Well, in a way, it's like this. Instead of she's gone, she was regular like rocker Tony Storm, and then lost the title and went mad and became this timeless character. And now the betrayal of Mariah has made her go like more crazy, which has come across a little too comical when I think it should be serious. And I would have almost liked this turn to have broken it so she can still be timeless but lean into being a bit more of the real person. Because I did think that angle was great, but I found since then, you know, like the smacking herself with the shoe and that just a little comical. But I think it is still one of the best built women's feuds AEW have done, and I've been really impressed with Mariah May in ring, and Tony's been great as well, and I think these two will go really hard against each other, and I do see a title win for Mariah May here, but I've been enjoying it a lot.
Yeah, no, like they've definitely done such a good job with this storyline that I think it's maybe cooled off, but I think they had to get it out of the way so they could tell you like, hey, you want to know what the match is.
Yeah,
like,
to know in advance.
So yeah, I think there's still a week or two out, and I think they could do something else that really adds to it. But really already it's like, you know, they're both going to get a huge reaction from Wembley Stadium. They're going to treat both of them like homegrown stars because they are.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be one of the highlights of All In. And yeah, really looking forward to that. Sorry, Viva Van lost there, though, unfortunately. But yeah, that's okay. I'm trying to think of what else happened on Dynamite.
I don't have much to say about Shibata versus Brian Keith. I don't know if you do.
Yeah, that was underwhelming. I mean, I like Brian Keith. Don't really like the Jericho stuff that's going on. I felt like it was all leading up to something, and instead it's like, no, we're just still doing the same thing every week. So it's kind of like, oh, there was some sort of a joke to go with whatever they were doing. But
so do you think we're getting Jericho Hook again at All In, or do you throw these both in the gauntlet match? Like, I can see Jericho pushing to get a singles match, so I see maybe him and Hook, or do you do a four-way with Shibata and Joe?
Anarchy,
maybe?
right? Like the Stadium Stampede Anarchy thing.
Yeah, you could do that.
They're definitely going to do that again.
I guess.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, I'm very cool on the whole Jericho. It's not Jericho Appreciate. It's the fucking apple tree.
Yeah, pretty low. Talking about low hanging fruit, the tree has a lot of that going on there.
The bad apple, Brian Keith. Orange Cassidy team with FTR against who I'm calling Bull Strong.
Bull Strong?
Yeah, the two Bulls and Roderick Strong.
I don't give a fuck. Mortiz, that's his name? Beast Maurice. He's fucking lit.
He's great.
Fucking sick.
Yeah.
And you think when people go, you like pro wrestling, you like that stupid shit, they picture a man in a bull mask and they go, that's so bad. That's so stupid. And then you watch this guy wrestle and you're like, holy fuck.
I'm like, how does he wrestle in this
How does he
thing?
see? How does he do anything? He posted like a somewhat of a selfie censoring his face, and he looks handsome.
He looks like Roman Reigns.
Yo,
He
like,
looks-
I'm just saying, maybe you don't need to wrestle in it, but when you do, I think he's amazing. So like, yeah, I hope this guy wrestles at All In because he is like, I don't want to call him a dark horse because he's a bull, but the dark bull, Mortos.
It's the Beast Mortis, but we both call him the Beast Mortis because
Yeah.
it just has a better ring to it.
Yeah, so
La Beast Mortis.
he's sick, man. I don't give a fuck. He's so much fun to watch. He's become someone, if I see him in a match, I watch it, even if it's on like another show. So I thought this match was pretty fun. And again, I think he's someone that, like, yeah, I'm not saying he's going to be your world champion in any time soon, but down the line, I think he could be.
He's someone I mean, it was cool seeing him get was it this week or the week before when him getting the pin?
Yeah,
which was
yeah.
You feel he's there to be maybe the pin eater, but
Yeah.
I think he's fantastic, and he is a look people are gonna remember. You know, you take someone to an AEW show who you've just like dragged along.
Yeah.
They're gonna remember the big bull who's catching people and doing flips and shit.
Yeah,
like he's been great.
He's always a scene stealer when it comes to him being on TV. And him, so it was him,
Roosh and Roderick Strong.
It was weird because the Acclaim, we figured the Acclaim versus the Young Bucks is the All In match.
Yeah.
And then I thought Max Caster just really like, I don't know what the storyline is, but him just shitting on FTR like came across so bizarre.
It was they didn't, because they no-show or something, wasn't it?
I don't know what the storyline is supposed to be, but I was hella confused. And I didn't quite understand that. And instead of All In, they've announced it's this week is the Young Bucks versus Acclaimed on Wednesday for the titles. I imagine FTR Acclaimed Young Bucks is the match at All In.
I imagine a 3-way.
But they're already doing a 3-way for the trios titles, so they probably won't do a 3-way. So it's like you might have to.
Yeah, I
But
mean, Tony loves a ladder match. Do we get that kind of stipulation?
Okay, yeah.
I find these are, I guess, you look at the roster, these are your top 3 teams in AEW right now, right? And I can see them not wanting to do Young Bucks FTR again. You did that last year. You've done it, 4, 5
done
times
it a bunch,
at this point. So I do see them leaning towards the 3-way. Is it me, or are all 3 of these teams incredibly unlikable at the moment?
Yes.
I don't know what it is. There's something about FTR that's just not like, I love FTR as a team. I think they're great, but there's something that's just getting under my skin a little bit whenever their promos. I don't know if it's, I don't know what it is. The Bucks are obviously in this heel character, but there's, stuff as well going right back to the Punk thing, going back to last year's Wembley match where, that build didn't really seem like they wanted to be there and the match didn't quite hit as it maybe should have. And then yeah, you mentioned Max Caster's rap. I get that they're maybe trying to get a bit more of this edge right now.
Well, it wasn't even a rap. It was, a promo.
The promo.
It's just so weird.
I get that they're trying to get a bit of an edge, but I'm finding no one's coming across too well in this. And I can't quite put my finger on or articulate what it is I don't like about these 3 teams right now.
Yeah.
But some things just, like all of them. And I think I've been cheering for FTR when they were holding all the championships and singing their song, the Acclaimed. I've bought the Acclaimed shirt and that sort of, and the Bucks have been fantastic forever. But right now I'm just ugh, I don't know what it is, but I'm not enjoying them.
Yeah, something to do with the tag team. Definitely the vision needs to be revamped. And I know you got incredible talent, but there's something about all the teams that have making them a bit unlikable. And for me, it was that Max Caster thing, instantly making me go, well, you're not sounding like heroes in this story. You're kind of sounding like little pricks.
Think how I thought they had a good showing at Blood and Guts, and we didn't. I know we've been both away and stuff. We didn't really have a chance to talk about Blood and Guts, but I think that might be my favorite AEW Blood and Guts match they've done.
Ooh, I don't know about that.
Because I thought it was. We were talking about it's a weird time of year to do it, but I thought they progressed stories within that match really well. They progressed the Hangman Swerve stuff. They progressed the Jack Perry Darby Allin stuff. I thought there was some pretty good spots in it, and I watched the Triller version, which got a lot in those commercial breaks, but I actually really enjoyed this Blood and Guts and thought it was more effective use of it than previous ones that they've done, where I don't think there was much coming out of it. And I thought they did a good job of having Acclaimed show a different side to them. But I think if Max's promo was more like FTR, I feel like you've never been taking us seriously. You just see us as the Scissor Guys, but we proved Blood and Guts were more than that. You've gone and bled with the Briscoes. Well, we'll bleed with you and make you bleed. I don't know, something more like that, rather than you didn't show up to South Carolina, you jerks.
When they are there and they were on the ramp,
it was just
so weird.
It was odd.
It threw me off, and I'm someone who likes these guys, and I think that made it something. It's almost like he's trying to stir shit, or I don't know. And in the world of AEW with all their dramas and stuff, it's not the best.
And with these EVP characters that the Bucks have right now, there should be a young up and coming tag team that you really want to see these take it off their hands. Whereas I don't really care. I don't care who of these 3 teams. In a way, I'd rather Bucks just retain and then try and create something new, have some fresh babyface tag team like the Acclaimed were 2 years ago. That you're like, oh, I really want to see them beat the Bucks. But I just, I think the whole EVP thing has been ill thought out. And we'll get into it with the Britt Baker stuff in a second, but the fact you had Tony Khan taken out, so the Young Bucks were running the show, for Christopher Daniels to come in 2 weeks later, but Tony Khan is there anyway. We see him, and then you just hear like occasionally Tony Khan's like, "No, I've overruled that, and that's not happening." And other times it's
Weird.
like, "Oh, my hands are tied."
It's very odd that they haven't made like a strong story for someone to take the titles off the Bucks. That I don't even think they will. And talking about not having a strong story, like Okada's just been chilling. And it looks like Jeff Jarrett's taken his spot, because I think that's the bigger match, is Jeff Jarrett versus Hangman at All In. And Okada is just going to be the guy to help the Bucks win a ladder match at this point, because he's not going to be featured heavily unless he's in one of those casino match, whatever fucking things. So bizarre. And some of the stuff that they do put out. Again, I'm still enjoying the TV, but that was a head scratcher with the Acclaim stuff, and kind of not sure where we're going with Okada, if he's even wrestling.
No, I wonder whether I think the Continental Classic is going to be like October, November, and whether that's where they shift gears with Okada and be like, right, this is now where we focus on him, and he'll be doing those tournament matches and hopefully putting on like bangers every week. And yeah, like maybe that's when you shift him into focus. I just see him in. I don't know if you'd even put him in this gauntlet match, because I think you'd somewhat want to protect him. But I don't know with Okada. Yeah, I thought it was going to be Hangman Okada, but I don't think we're getting that match at All In.
Now, I mean, we had Jeff Jarrett versus Danielson on Dynamite. That's getting ahead a little bit there, but going to how that kind of tied in, and then it makes me want to see Jeff Jarrett and Hangman at All In, which I imagine is the match. Like, I don't know. Like, it's so weird.
I see them both being in the gauntlet.
Right.
And yeah, I think you're going to get your Orange Cassidy's, your Hangman Page, your Jeff Jarrett. Like, I think you're going to get a lot of the loose ends in this gauntlet match. I've really enjoyed these two gauntlets they've done so far. And I think you can expand it, like maybe even open the show with this thing. And I'd like to see that. I think we've had 9 people in them roughly before.
Right.
I think you could go beyond that and do way more entries. And I've enjoyed the style of this. It feels very, 2K, where you're just like hundreds of people trying to just get one pin. And I think it's a way you can get a lot of these characters on the show and some cool pairings. And I think you've got enough stories woven in as well, where you can have that Jarrett Hangman confrontation. I see Hangman winning it. I don't know. Like, I've heard some people speculating, is it is it an opportunity that you can just cash in? Do we potentially see Hangman walking out of Wembley as champion?
Gotcha.
And then, because you've then got like a match at All Out, which is when you could do Swerve Hangman, and then you've got Darby at Grand Slam, and Darby's got that win over Hangman already. So could tie it in that way. I don't know if it's a bit, stealing a WWE trope to do that, but it's certainly kind of in line with, Hangman and Swerve to get one over on him, perhaps.
They've also just announced Wrestle Dream for October 12th in Tacoma, Washington. So that kind of tips me off on, I think, Washington.
Well, I think Darby, Swerve, and Danielson.
Yeah, exactly.
There, so.
Yeah. There's a few things you could do that route, but yeah, I think the casino thing. You're right there. Like, why try to have all these different single matches when you can have kind of the characters in that story? If
I take that over the Anarchy in the Arena, the Stadium Stampede,
I think we're getting both.
You think we're getting both?
Yeah, I don't know. Your way, if you put Jericho in that thing too, I guess. But like, yeah, that's already a lot of matches. There's 8 matches already, and I imagine we get maybe one more.
Just remember, Tony, Wembley has a curfew.
They were really on it last year.
They were on it last year.
Remember, we got out of there really quick.
Yeah.
We went to the weekend a week before.
Yeah.
And it took us fucking ages to get out of there with all the smelly dudes, boyfriends of girls at the weekend. But then we go to AEW. We knew now.
We had the best exit, didn't we? And there was no one on our train. That's how quick we got out of there. We beat the crowd.
Yeah.
We had Camille squashing Clara Carter in the kind of Mercedes Moné Britt Baker feud. This was horrible, I thought. Not the match. Like Camille looks great. She's obviously like going to be their kind of dominant like monster in the women's division. But bringing up Britt Baker's real life suspension and crediting it to the Young Bucks, and then Tony Khan's overturned it. If you are, I mean, a lot of AEW fans are dialed into what's going on outside of the company. But if you're not, you're like, Britt Baker has been suspended for 30 seconds on this show.
Ridiculous.
Because Moné's like, she's suspended. And then it's like, no, she's not.
Yeah, a little weird.
Okay. What storyline wise, what was she suspended for?
Yeah.
I don't know.
They can't treat it as if everyone knows all this like online stuff.
No.
And I think that's been a problem of theirs like since the beginning. It's been good, but also like you do need to explain to some people, because like we do a podcast where we're really in depth about wrestling. When we talk to some people who watch Dynamite every week, they might not have a Twitter where they go through things. They might not visit your websites or even know what some of these websites are. So like there's a lot of people out there who are just like, oh shit, I love Chris Jericho. I don't know what this gimmick is. What's the deal with that? They might not know anything else.
Yep.
Whoa, I love Britt Baker. Why is she suspended? Like there's a lot of wrestling fans like that. Only like a certain amount of people are your internet wrestling community. So in things doing like that, it's so stupid, I think.
And not even, they didn't even, from what I remember, give a reason as to why the Bucks suspended her. I just thought it looked cheap. It's derailed this feud, which these are two big stars in women's wrestling, and I've enjoyed a couple of the segments that they've had, but this suspension, and I still want to know, we haven't really talked much about it, but what the story is. Like, Britt was upset that, and this is from like, Fightful and sources and that kind of thing. Britt made comments in the women's locker room that she was upset that MJF and Ospreay got an hour and the women basically got barely any time on that show and didn't feel that they should be having that long. And Alicia Atoot, who's new into AEW, is one of the interviewers, who is the real life girlfriend of MJF, kind of passed his information on to MJF, who then went into the women's locker room and there was an argument and he punched a wall. Now, I want to know what was said by Britt that caused her to have a suspension, and the male going into the women's locker room and punching walls didn't get a suspension.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's details missing, but she must have said something really fucking awful if she's the one that's getting suspended here. Or is this just like, well, he's a star, whatever, and I've got to make a point? It's all very, very odd.
I'm not saying this is anything, but we're just assuming. I'm just assuming something here. But as I mentioned, last year's main event was MJF and Adam Cole, who a bitter part of the year, their storyline is how they're best friends. I'd imagine that they are friends in real life. And I don't know if you've been caught up on your dirt sheets of wrestling relationships in Love Island, but the people on the internet seem to think that Adam Cole and Britt Baker are donezo.
Yeah, he put out a post saying that he was moving on his own.
Yeah.
And then you kind of look and they haven't been on each other's Instagrams and stuff for a while.
Just there might be something there related. Again, I'm just speculating, but it's bizarre. And I think and this is all just us speculating, and we're not journalists or anything, but Britt Baker and Tony Khan seemed so pally at the beginning of AEW. They seemed very, very close. And this was back when Adam Cole was still in NXT, and he'd, be backstage at these White Claw parties at Daly's Place and that kind of thing. And then Adam Cole jumps over to AEW, then Britt Baker kind of just falls off the face of the earth, and he made a mistake.
And then it feels like it really felt like, oh, I'm going to be friends with you so I can hire your boyfriend. And now I've hired your boyfriend. I don't need you. Oh, and now you've broken up with your boyfriend? Yeah, you're suspended. But like, I just don't get why there were no repercussions for Max. Like,
again, there might be stuff we don't know from what she said.
You're like going into the women's locker room and punching shit. Like, it's not a good look. And like, this isn't even AEW property. It's, you know, a venue, like whatever. Like, there must be stuff we don't know, but it is all very weird. And then to bring it up on Dynamite and not even saying like due to a backstage incident or whatever, just being like, the Young Bucks suspended you. And then once again, completely undermining this EVP story because Tony Khan's like, no, you're not.
Yeah,
you're not
no,
suspended.
the match is that. It's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's weird. We don't know, but, you know, backstage drama in AEW means that Britt will eventually leave and then get a crazy raise in WWE.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't know. I hope the drama in AEW doesn't continue because there's probably drama in wrestling that goes so under the radar that we never know. Like, don't think that this doesn't happen in wrestling. These are egos and, like we said, real relationships and characters that are on screen and this and that. So it's gonna happen. But I just find it odd that it's Britt Baker and MJF when, like, yeah, the only kind of tie there is Adam Cole, imagine. So there must be something, you know, involved in stuff that maybe we don't need to know about certain people's dramas. But as long as they can all get together and put on a good show, maybe she's mad she's got a job to another WWE person in a month, in a few weeks, because that's probably what's going to happen as well for Britt Baker. So, you know, maybe she loses and then she's done. I don't know if we're jumping that far to conclusions, but she was a big piece of AEW and seemed to have like disappeared up until now.
She was like one of the main stars,
absolutely
the star of the women's division,
sure.
but was like I always feel like think fondly of those like Daily Place days, and you know when she was injured but still being a presence, doing the stuff with Tony Schiavone and with Rebel and stuff. Like she was fun.
So like I hope they've learned from the past where instead of I just won't work here anymore, like no, maybe like solve problems before things don't get solved, and then it just becomes a bigger problem and a bigger problem. Like real relationships in real life, like real things. Like if these people have issues, don't let that cause then someone to leave and stuff like that. It looks like there's going to be a lot of people leaving AEW. You know, there's all this speculation about Ricky Starks, and I could see him showing up in WWE or NXT very, very soon. So that's also like there's other stars. The whole Daniel Garcia thing, like. There seems that now's a good time to jump back. Whereas, like I said, I'm joking that Adam Cole, man, what if you stayed because you were Triple H, one of Triple H's boys. Triple H's boys are, doing all right now. That maybe he would have. But I saw like his vision from at the point. Well, this might be the best thing for him.
And also like he's been two like major injuries that have derailed him, of course. But. I don't think Adam Cole, I don't think the MJF feud hit. I thought that Chris Jericho feud was fucking awful.
Yeah.
And then being early challenger for Hangman Page, where they were good matches, but I think at the time you're like, it's too early for Cole to win this. So there wasn't really that kind of thought that he could win, which didn't make that feud overly compelling to me. But he has been plagued with injuries, and
and it's awful. You feel for the guy for sure, right? Like he's such a good talent, seems like such a good dude that I hope he does come back and has a great comeback and everything. Something I noticed though, from Keeping It 100 with Conan.
Oh yeah,
he said something. Very interested, and I quote here: "One of the reasons that Cody left amongst many was there was problems between Brandy and Britt. Tony always takes her side. You'll find out one day," says Conan. So maybe there is some smoke to the fire of Britt Baker.
I think there's definitely stuff you can read between the lines with Cody where it seems like it was a disagreement with Tony Khan about something that led to his exit. And whether it was, I think a lot has you watch those early shows, and Cody Rhodes was really the on-screen authority figure a lot of the time, wasn't he? Like I remember him going to the commentary desk and putting on the headset and announcing stuff, and he'd be leading those press conferences and things. And I feel he kind of maybe saw this company as being like his in the future. And Tony Khan kind of put a stop to that. Maybe Brandy rubbed him up the wrong way and rubbed Britt up the wrong way and that kind of thing. But yeah, I think we'll probably hear more one day.
Yeah, probably. The Rise and Fall of AEW DVD set.
But then, we've got the whole main event segment. We had a Swerve sit-down interview with JR.
Yes. You know what? JR looked rough. JR looked very, I don't know what the nice word is. He looked old. However, I still really liked the segment. I thought at least they found a nice role for him. But I'm just saying that we haven't seen JR, at least on camera, at least for a little while. I thought he looked a little older.
I mean, he's had health things
exactly
as well. Yeah.
However, like that aside, I actually enjoyed the sit-down interview thing. So
me too. I think I like JR in this role. I don't really want him on commentary anymore. They have scaled him back and put him in just, featured matches and things, which is fine.
Yeah.
But I think in this role, he's really good. And I agree. He didn't look in the best of health. But I think he brings a real realness to these interviews. And it comes across that he is listening to what the other person has to say. I loved Swerve essentially justifying breaking into a man's house and being in the room with his kid and suggesting abduction or whatever. I love the way he excused that as I wasn't getting noticed and I had to do something, and JR's like, I get it, like you've got to make some noise, I get it. And I did really like this segment, and I think they're doing a great way with Swerve remaining a babyface but keeping that kind of edge that made us all fall in love with him during that Hangman feud. So he can go into this as de facto heel against Danielson, but, doesn't have to do the turn and can come out of this feud still as a mega baby face as well. I think they're handling it really well. And I think the retirement stipulation makes me so much more interested in this match and makes it so much more worthy as the main event. And it's the one thing that's really giving me FOMO about not going to this show. Is could this be the last time Bryan Danielson wrestles?
No,
I don't think so. But there's that seed of doubt.
So on Collision, the sit down with JR and Danielson, he mentions that he has to have neck surgery by the end of the year, anyways.
Yeah.
So like that's adding little sprinkles. But I think this is such a great storyline addition. It helps have so much more weight to it. Like, yes, you could just pair up Danielson versus Swerve in any arena in any city. That sounds like a great matchup. But now, main event of Wembley, the Dragon in the year of the Dragon, putting his career on the line, which just adds another little thing to it. There's a lot of things adding up to this. And I thought the sit-down interviews and the promos that they've been doing for this have added a lot in the last week or so that makes it feel like, yes, this is your main event for what feels like last year was your first WrestleMania. You got this year's WrestleMania main event right for you. Like the all-in main event sounds stellar, and the match will go crazy, whether or not there's Hangman involvement. But I think Danielson walks out as champion, the title that he just doesn't want.
But even that, I think they've done a great way of like correcting that issue with Danielson being like, I don't really care about titles. I'm just here to wrestle matches or whatever. And I think using Jeff Jarrett so effectively, Jarrett had such a great swell of support from the Owen tournament. And then just being this veteran, this voice in this ear for Danielson, I think the timing of that was perfect. It would have felt out of nowhere if we didn't have this Owen tournament and that incredible promo video he did. Whereas I think it does the thing with you where I think also Danielson knows how to work as well. Whereas now you can kind of think maybe he does say that in interviews to throw people off a bit.
Right.
You mentioned the comments about his neck surgery. It's like, is that to plant more seeds of, he's retiring because he needs to get his neck fixed?
It's like when he does seizures in a match.
Yeah. So I think they've done a great job of making me feel that Danielson does actually care about being a champion and that kind of thing.
it goes like two ways here, because so Danielson says this could be his last match. If he loses, he's done. He could win and be AEW champion, and then tells us that, like, yeah, actually the contract I signed, but because of injury, I'm actually here for a little while. You got Wrestle Dream in Washington. You got like a lot of shows with him as champion. Him giving the title to someone else is a good elevation for someone else. That's how one way goes, where, oh, Danielson's not retiring. No, I'm retiring from like full time. I'm still going to wrestle here and there, go forward. Or Swerve wins, stays champion, and Danielson goes back to wrestle John Cena one more time in that retirement tour. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's still that is in your brain. Like, oh, you're going to end up in the Hall of Fame one day. So you got to go back there at some point, but I hope it's not right now.
Yeah. I hope it's not a permanent retirement. I mean, I think the way he's said in this promo that if he loses, he will retire. I have like trust in him that he doesn't necessarily mean just as Bryan Danielson.
Yeah.
So I do see him winning this thing, but it's added stakes to this match, which like
the final countdown.
So much more interested in this feud.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be great.
They're billing it as the final countdown,
yeah.
And he's going to come out to that theme. So it's going to be pretty epic, I think, for that main event. So yeah, I think one thing they have done right is finally made this main event feel special, way more so than last year's. Really enjoying this, and I can't wait to. I've been loving the promos from Swerve and from Danielson. I thought it was a bit weird having Ishii versus Swerve this week, where it was kind of Ishii, who's really like, there's a reason I guess he wasn't in the G1. He just looks a little bit more beat up and older than usual. And I thought him kind of almost killing the champ in a match on Collision wasn't necessarily the right way to go, but half their audience doesn't watch that show, so they didn't see that. So they'll just continue on that Swerve is having this great run. And he has had a great run. I just think now's the time for Danielson, hopefully not to retire and win the title.
I would say overall, I'm way higher on this card than
last year.
You mentioned that it's going to be a three-way trios match. That was the main thing coming out of Collision this week.
Christian in the ref turtleneck.
Yeah. So the Patriarchy, the Bang Bang Gang, and House of Black. I think there were talks of the Lucha, like Death Triangle being in this, but they seem to potentially be leaving, which I don't know what's going on with Pac's number one contender for the international championship.
Oh yeah,
because he won that match, and it's never been brought up again ever since. And it looks like, I mean, Pac is probably going to be in this gauntlet match as well. But you know, Jack Perry, Darby Allin, I think, has been built very well, and I think they're going to be doing something nutty.
Yeah, I love the great crossover promotion with Jungle Boy, Jack Perry, Scapegoat, and Taco Bell.
Yes.
Did you see this?
I mean, I was watching Triller, so it didn't happen for us. But then, on Twitter, it was so good.
It just cuts mid-video to Taco Bell, like not like I'm thinking Crunch Wrap Supreme, but it's the other cheesy burrito thing. But thought that was funny seeing that, like, clearly an accident.
Crimea River.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully they use that down the line or some sort of joke going forward. But yeah, Darby, Jack Perry, I think will be crazy.
Sorry, I've not watched Collision, and I'm just reading what the pre-show match is. Have you heard this? Chris Statlander and Stokely Hathaway versus Willow Nightingale and Tomohiro Ishii.
That's added for All In. Yeah, that's the dark match for All In.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I think on paper this whole card is way better than last year's. I do still think there's a quality control needed in AEW when it comes to storylines. I think there are ideas and they don't necessarily have that care of thinking ahead. I think there are lots of kind of holes in a lot of things that have been going on, and just certain things that story-wise aren't completely hitting for me, but I do think the matches on paper look good. I'm glad we're going for, like, look, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 singles matches on this show. I felt last year felt like WrestleMania 2000, where every match was a multi-man match.
They'll add more. Don't worry. He'll add more. But I think if it starts for us Eastern time at 1 p.m., it'll end at 6 p.m. I think is what they'll go for. So 5 hours, right? Like that's fair. I think considering they do a lot of wrestling in those 5 hours. Some other things, like I think we're getting Shane O'Mac come out at Wembley.
You do?
Yeah, I think we're getting. I don't know what his theme's gonna be, but some song that also has money in the reference, because you can't use that theme, unfortunately. But something involving money. Just get Pink Floyd money or Beatles money cover. Yeah, I think we're getting that at All In.
What do you think he's doing?
Put him in the casino gauntlet, and then his quad will go out again, or his knee will go out again. No, I don't. I think he just comes out to give the attendance record of 900,000 people. No,
it's crazy. Like, I'm a huge Shane McMahon fan, unironically. Just love him. But one of the greatest matches of all time, Shane versus Kurt Angle. It's just incredible. And I do want to see it. I do want to see it just for the
lulz.
Just for the lulz. But you can totally see in like 10 years' time a documentary, The Rise and Fall of AEW, and then they brought in Shane McMahon.
And that's when everything
his father's in the middle of this lawsuit and this and
do it.
It's
cowards. Bring him in.
I'm for it as well.
Make him the fucking
That's
like
when
GM.
I get the FOMO.
Make him fucking the GM of this show.
Yeah.
Like shoot kayfabe, whatever. Make him like do like storyline shit that like EVPs. He comes in. He should be with the EVPs really, but I don't know. Like Shane O'Mac versus Okada at All Out.
Incredible.
Wrestle Dream.
Incredible stuff.
Get some plated glass windows.
Yeah.
Put him through it. Darby versus Shane is the match. Shane's looking at the wing, the thing on top of Wembley. Yeah, thinking how can I jump off that?
Any other surprises you think? Any is Taylor Swift playing Jeff Jarrett out for the
That'd be pretty sick.
Gauntlet?
Yeah. She is there just before, right?
She was their babysitter, right?
Yeah.
Jarrett's?
Yes. She babysat Jeff Jarrett's kids once.
Amazing.
They were neighbors.
So yeah.
That's pretty crazy
That
if
would
that
be
happens.
cool.
Not as big as Shane O'Mac.
Does Europe still tour?
They could play. We just did our review of Hot Rod where Europe was featured on there. And like if they got Hot Rod, they couldn't be that much. But Tony TK does say that it's very expensive to play the Final Countdown. Yeah. But some internet sleuths have found out that Europe is playing shows and are not scheduled for August 25th.
Where are they? So okay, let's
just putting that out there. That
I'm looking at
Europe, the band,
what they're if they're doing a European tour, especially, I mean, not say they can easily just fly from everywhere. They're fucking Europe.
Yeah, and it's TK. TK will,
September. Oh, they're playing my birthday in Italy.
So
September 3rd.
You're saying there's a chance.
There's a chance, yeah.
There's a chance of Europe playing live in Europe for All In.
I mean, that would be incredible.
Better than Fozzy last year.
Yeah, that's low bar, but yeah.
Fozzy has a show coming up, and they had to change venues due to low ticket sales during All In weekend.
What a shame. Poor Fozzy.
But yeah, that'd be crazy to see Europe play Danielson. That's another hope and dream that we have. Any other things go? I'm excited for All In.
Yeah,
so much that we were planning. We went last year. We definitely have FOMO, but we were like, okay, let's have all our friends come over and watch it. And we do these watch parties, and a few people asked about it. So I was kind of like, fuck it. Like, let's do a little hangout. We don't have to play hosts and just have everyone come over to a small little bar and have it on the screens and watch it and get drunk. So I'm looking forward to daytime Sunday wrestling.
Me too. Absolutely.
Another thing I saw, it won't be part of All In, is the Outrunners. You've seen these guys?
Yeah.
They had a great video package.
Okay.
Where it's like totally 80s, 90s, like zoom in, the music, them flexing and stuff. I think there's a lot more to these guys.
They're pretty funny. Yeah. I think they play it pretty well because they kind of play it straight and they're just goofy and ridiculous.
Yeah, but I really think they're great.
I get a kick out of the Outrunners.
Yeah, for sure.
Current as of August 8th, according to WrestleTix, there's the current setup for Wembley is 51,314. We've mentioned that Taylor Swift it's kind of in the middle of her London date, so it's the long ramp for this, different setup from last year. I actually think it's going to look way better.
Yeah,
I imagine they're going to hopefully do a bit more of an elaborate set. I'd like for this. So current setup just over 51,000. Currently tickets distributed 45,158. Available tickets 6,156. That was as of 3 days ago. I definitely see a boost in the last few days. So I'm imagining like a 50,000 capacity here, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
Probably quite similar to SummerSlam this year, I'd imagine.
For anyone going who's planning, no, we won't be there. But if you are looking for stuff to do, there is tons of events I saw this time around, including Grapple. They will be still doing a show on the Saturday.
Yeah, right by the Copper Box before the Rev Pro show. So check out those guys if you're in town.
I see they're there right now at Rev Pro because as we're talking, MJF is facing Michael Oku one-on-one.
Gotcha.
And MJF came out with the United States flag and confetti, and that's definitely what he's doing at All In with the big USA entrance. But yes, I see there's lots of stuff, lots of different like wrestling events and stuff going on. And last year, that wasn't the case. We were one of the only ones doing a party and stuff. So look at that, setting the trend for All In weekend.
Yeah.
And then we just didn't go back, but we will one year. Maybe when they announce WrestleMania.
I mean, I think that will happen.
Bigger chance of WrestleMania happening in London.
I'll
England.
probably go to London before you. I have a feeling.
Yeah. I mean, like, no, what I'm saying, like,
for a wrestling thing.
There's more chance of WrestleMania London than there is WrestleMania Toronto.
Oh yeah, 100%.
We will never get another one here unless we get a bigger
Not
stadium.
until you get a new venue.
Exactly.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is, I think, everything for All In.
Yes.
AEW.
Definitely looking forward to All In. I'm all in.
Moving over to WWE, we kind of chatted about Raw on our Up Next on NXT this week, but SmackDown, some like news items coming out of this. Obviously, the Roman Reigns return to SmackDown, kind of just a rehash of SummerSlam.
Yeah, very similar. Like basically Solo saying, "Hey Roman, I'm the tribal chief. Acknowledge me," and then Roman just comes out and tries to chase him off. It's like I'm trying to. What is it comparable to the lay that he wants? It's almost like the Thor's hammer or Thanos' thing.
It's almost like the One Ring, I'd say.
Yeah,
because you had at the end of the segment, well, Tama Tonga then picks it up and he's like, "Oh, it's got that woo,
right, yeah,
like Lord of the Rings music, staring at it." I think they were able to get away with this because people are just excited for Roman.
Yeah.
So could kind of do this again. I would like to see I'd like to see how Roman kind of justifies his actions from the past. And I think WWE have been a bit better at doing that. I thought with Damian Priest's promo on Raw this week, it's not just like, "Hey, I'm a good guy now." He's like, "Oh, I had my documentary screening and seeing that people actually gave a shit about me and that kind of thing. It made me realize, oh, I've been a dick and maybe I should." I think Roman, because we imagine we're getting this, original bloodline coming back together as baby faces. He needs to like acknowledge the fact he was incredibly emotionally abusive to his cousins and friends and stuff. And I do want that kind of promo, coming out like Cody beating me. Like, I think they've done a good way with just subtle looks and things showing that Roman has that respect for Cody now. It's like, okay, you did it. You beat me. But I hope we get some sort of promo from Roman at some point.
We will.
I thought he came across as a monstrous babyface. I liked how he working with a bit more speed on these beat downs. It got a huge reaction. I thought they finally got there. A decade trying to make this guy over with this crowd. They've done it. It's working. I'm interested to see where they're going moving forwards.
Yeah, I don't know when we'll get Roman v Solo one-on-one, if that's as early as the Bash or down the line, but War Games is obviously the end game of this storyline. I'm definitely bloodlined out, but having Roman come back is best for business because he's like one of the most over characters in wrestling, full stop. So, and
we're still not sure the legitimacy of Jacob Fatu's injury. Like, if it's a work, it's a great job of putting off him and Roman
face to face.
Yeah. And I don't think Roman should be, just spearing and Superman punching this guy.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think it's quite effective. I do think it did definitely feel at SummerSlam that, oh, he's out. We're working on the fly here. Because I don't think that Roman and it got a huge pop, but it didn't feel like the crescendo hit and then Roman was there, you know?
Well, I hope that's not a legit injury, but it could very well be. But if it's the case, to make sure they don't have that face-to-face yet.
Yeah.
So that's a tease for a bigger matchup. Like
you can save that for War Games. Have like, you know, when you do like the minute against each other and then everyone else kind of break them up or whatever.
Yeah.
I personally, I'd like them to just get Roman Solo out the way. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Do it at Bad Blood or Berlin or whatever, and just get it done.
Yeah.
And then you can do your Bloodline War Games, and then you can focus on what Roman's like WrestleMania build is going to be when we're going into the Rumble season and all that. Yeah.
Because, you know, Roman Reigns returning on SmackDown was not the biggest return on SmackDown.
Trying to think.
Vinci.
Oh, Vinci.
Johnny Sins. Johnny Vins, as I call him on the show.
I completely forgot about
Oh, man. You thought he was out? Nah, he's not out. He's fucking back. The best Italian wrestler? Going in WWE. This guy, you thought he was done. You thought he was cooked. And here he comes smiling at you on screen with the great video package. I was concerned about him because we've watched him for quite a long time. In WWE, in NXT, Performance Center, always stealing the show, brought up to main roster, and is kicked out of his group, never to be heard from again. And I just assumed that was it for him. I thought he maybe pissed someone off. And instead, he gets a video package kind of going in the direction of the same character that kind of, I thought, helped elevate him. And I hope that it works out for him, because I don't think the wrestling world's ready for what this guy can offer.
Are we going to get the photos as he comes out?
Absolutely, yes.
You better.
Johnny Vins. Just change his name to Johnny Vins.
Yeah.
What's his name? What's his actual name?
Giovanni Vinci.
Giovanni Vinci.
Fabian Eichner.
Fabian Eichner. Oh, man. Love this guy.
Yeah, I got a kick out of watching that. I was like, oh, they're doing it. Yeah. They've dusted off the 2.0 gimmick.
Best thing going in SmackDown for me is seeing that, because, like, man, he's fantastic. He's someone who actually hits the double jump moonsault.
Yeah.
Like, no one fucking hits that. Fatu, you're sick. Jacob Fatu, you're great, but you can't hit that fucking move. Then don't do the fucking move.
Yeah.
Whereas this guy hits it every time and then looks at the camera. So, yeah, I was very excited to see that. And hopefully we get some good wrestling, because they've got a great crop in there mixing up with the actual wrestling. He's one to watch for sure. Something I didn't like, because AEW haters out there, we call it down the middle, but AEW gets the, why are they having a match? What's the story here? What's the story? Cody Rhodes is like, Kevin, come on, have a match with me. Please, Kevin, you want to face me for my title? You save my ass all the time. Can you just be my number one contender? And Kevin's like, nah, not really into that. Like, okay, well, can we come up with something, which I think is the next few weeks of storytelling? But I thought that segment was not great.
It was weird, but I did like a couple of things coming out of it. And I noticed it a couple of times on this show where it almost felt like Triple H is addressing a couple of things through his characters. So Owens being like, no, my win-loss record sucks. And I'll need bringing up that maybe Triple H is going to start focusing a little bit on not having a ranking system, but I think I've noticed little things that they've done production-wise recently, which is, you know, they've shown, that they were doing it at SummerSlam. Like, Drew McIntyre is 2-1 at SummerSlam, and they were doing these little stats and doing these little rankings kind of things. And I like also they've had the Raw results showing up, like making it feel a bit more sports-based, like showing things that have happened. And I felt, because there were a couple of comments on SmackDown this week about win-loss record, and also I can't remember what segment it was, but someone brought up the automatic rematch clause that hasn't been in effect for years now, and maybe bringing that back. And it just felt, I agree, it feels kind of flat for your main prize to be like, hey, do you want a title shot? Nah. But I did appreciate the little things, and I think it's maybe the start of things we're going to see Triple H trying to do, have it a bit more, you know, wins and losses matter again, and maybe bringing back the rematch clause, or was it? It might be might have been DIY, I think, that said, like, oh, well, the rematch clause hasn't been in effect, and we barely defended this title before losing it, which is we don't deserve it yet, or something like that. Do you see this building to Owens turning, though?
It has to make
Right.
it interesting, right? Like, again, if this is something I saw on AEW, I'd be like, okay, could we not have had like some story attack? Again, there's weeks to the show, so you got to build the story, and I get that. I just think your initial thing is, hey, you want to face me? Nah, not really. Oh, okay. Well, I just spent fucking 2 years trying to get this, and you don't even want this like friendly rivalry. It's like, nah. It's like, okay, just kind of weird. I think it wouldn't have even come into my brain if he just went, yes, actually, I do. I've been saving your ass for 2 years, and now you're offering me this title shot, is what he should say in the next 2 weeks. But instead, it's like, actually, I've been losing a lot, and okay, then why are we fucking?
I liked how just saying, "Oh, we'll give it to Roman then," and he's like, "Wait, no, like I beat him in that last man standing match," and the ref like
it just feels weird because like anytime we talk to people who complain about AEW, that's why are they going to this match? Give the story. It's like, this is,
to be fair, AEW just throws up a graphic,
and
goes, "This is what
all
we're
the
doing."
time.
Like,
but
at least there's.
I have no problem if it's SmackDown or Raw and they go, hey, this match is happening. NXT, hey, this match is happening. Dynamite, hey, this is the match. Cool, because it's a show, an exhibition show, whatever. But when it's your pay-per-views, like, no, you should, like, I think maybe if Kevin's a way better heel, right? So like the match sounds good because Cody versus Kevin, that sounds great. I'm trying to think if I've ever seen that match before. So I feel like there was a brief period where it could have happened.
Maybe not,
because Cody left when
the only time I recall is WrestleMania 32, the ladder match.
So wow,
you had Stardust, you had Owens and Zayn in like their core.
Like, think Cody and him swap places because
Yeah.
Kevin came in and Cody went and hung out with the Bucks and then started AEW. Whereas if Kevin never signed, he would have definitely.
Owens was the one who was like, talk to the Bucks.
Exactly. Kevin, there's definitely reason to bring up the Young Bucks in this feud because Kevin is the one who like helped them connect there. So
I think we could see some of that. I think Cody's character is not afraid of referencing AEW,
exactly.
And it's all part of his history and his story. I wonder if you eventually have like Randy joining Owens as a heel as well, because we've got to get to Randy and Cody at some point. Obviously, Randy's hanging out on Raw right now to face Gunther, but I imagine we'll get to that at some point as well.
Yeah. So you know what? Like Bash of Berlin, these two matches being what's announced is pretty good, and consider like they've not done a pay-per-view in this city, let alone this country.
Nuts.
So the crowd, no matter what you give them, is great. But now you're giving them like the hometown hero Gunther versus Randy Orton, who is one of the biggest stars in WWE.
Yeah.
Already, that's a solid match. It's already sold out, and it's very expensive to go to this show, and it's already sold out. Now you've added Cody versus Kevin, which, the way they set it up this week was like head scratching, but on paper that sounds like it should bang. So already this show sounds like it's pretty good. And I've not been super high on WWE since WrestleMania, and I think like the atmosphere of these events is what sells it now. Like going to them is like, you watch that on TV, you saw France, hell, you saw Money in the Bank, you're like, I need to be at this. If they're coming to my city, I need to go and be part of it. So what they've added so far is like bonus, is a little cherry on top. So far, like that event, you're crazy if you're going to All In and not doing one or the other, like in a week span. We're so jealous because last year we went to Berlin on our trip for All In and didn't go to wrestling, which like, hey, it's a pretty fucking cool city and there's a lot of stuff to do not wrestling related. Hit us up for anything, but like very jealous of like the 2 weeks of wrestling back to back. It's sounds awesome. So I'm not super back into WWE as much. Like we talked about Raw on upNXT a little bit, and I'm still like, it's definitely better than what it was, but there's still stuff that I'm like, okay, you're dragging things out, and a lot of fucking commercials and a lot of their stuff, but I think it's still been a way better product than it has been.
It's Raw especially is my show of the week at the moment. I think I thought this week's Raw in particular was one of the best Raws they've done in a long time. I'm definitely more into it right now. I think across the board, there's stories being told and reasons why people are fighting. I like I have faith in Gunther putting on some good matches. I would definitely like the quality of the in-ring to the acting
Step
can
up.
take away a bit from it, you know? And I think that was my issue with Adam Cole and MJF at last year's Wembley was I know they're capable of just a straight up good match. And instead we're doing bullshit with, shall we put our matching t-shirts on or not? Shall we hug or not? Are we friends? Are we not? And for me, it does get away. And I like a bit of it. I like a bit of the acting, the melodrama, but I do want to see good bell-to-bell action as well. But from just weekly TV and stories and where are they going to go next? Like, I think the new Judgment Day under Finn kind of has my interest. I think you've, in both losing their titles, Rhea and Priest are bigger stars than they were. I mean, Rhea's been big for a while, but I definitely think Priest is a bigger star without this championship now than he was with. I think they've done a great job. I actually watched his documentary the other day. It was great. Like, I had no idea about how, I know they brought it into this story about him being on the streets and all that, but really going into how it kept showing his dad, who was like, why are you doing this? You're not going to make it.
Right.
Like, and showing him when he was overweight.
Punishment,
and,
Martinez.
Yeah, and him saying, like, the people that helped me were the ones who were like, you're fat and you're shit. You shouldn't be doing this. And he's like, they're the ones who motivated me in getting in shape. And basically, had all his eggs in one basket and was like, this is what I'm gonna do. And them saying about how, like, I think Triple H is saying a lot in the documentary where he always felt Priest was trying to be someone he's not. And I think we mentioned that a few times when we were covering him in NXT, that not fully connecting. Like, there's cool stuff about him, but you're watching his independent run where he's just trying to be Undertaker.
Yeah.
And I think now, and it was showing his babyface run before joining Judgment Day, and just you like look in his eyes and it's just not there. He's like trying to, I smile and I hold this, and I'm a good guy. And then going right through the Bad Bunny stuff and Judgment Day, and now he really feels like he's got a natural connection with the audience now. I think he has that babyface charisma, and I think he feels like his own person and feels more comfortable in his skin. But I love this documentary. I love, like, you know,
check it out,
rags to riches stories, and he just comes across like such a nice guy. And watching the Judgment Day and Gorilla, watching his cash in and just seeing, like, we put these factions together on TV, but when you see that outside of that they've become this close, and you see Rhea just like crying because her friend has achieved that moment, and right before cashing in, like Seth Rollins being like, all right, you go for it. It's your time. It was really cool to see. And I do recommend this doc.
I've always supported him. And you know what? I always thought he was a nice guy. When I've been in Ring of Honor, when he was Punishment, like, he was someone that a group of us that would always go, but like one of my friends would be like, oh man, I fucking love Punishment Martinez. And like, we used to be like, oh, like this, he wasn't necessarily fat in Ring of Honor, but like just a bigger guy.
You see him like before ROH doing the indies, and he was.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. And I always was like, oh yeah, like big guy, kind of weird to see in when everyone's small doing flippy stuff, and he's kind of a bigger, WWE style guy. I always thought he would fit really well in WWE. And
he says it was Bailey that brought him in.
Wow.
Bailey saw him at a show and was basically, why are you not in WWE?
Yeah.
She's like, you've got everything. You should be in the company.
You're big, you're tall.
And kind of like got them talking.
Wow. Impressive.
And it was eventually like he'd had tryouts and didn't make it. And it was eventually Triple H who was like, now we're calling him to invite him in and stuff.
Nice.
Also said Damian Priest. He said he was his parents wanted to call him Damien.
Right.
And the Omen came out. And they were like, nah. And he was like, I always thought the name was cool, and especially because it's got the connection with the Omen.
Yeah.
And then he was like, and when they were saying, what do you want to be? He's like, I want to be a rock star. And he was like, like Judas Priest. And then was like, well, I'll just be Damian Priest. It's got that rock star name.
Live forever.
Yeah.
I think they've done a good job with characters in WWE, and he's definitely one of them because he was I wouldn't say he was a flat champion. We were at WrestleMania and we were very hyped for him finally cashing in, and it was a great moment. But I think this storyline is what's helping him get even over the fact that he can now be a champion.
And it'll be good for Finn as well.
Yeah.
I'm interested in seeing Finn in that mix. And I think when you see genuine friends facing each other, I think there's a bit of a, you can hit me a bit harder and we want to elevate each other in this feud and that kind of thing.
My only gripe is WWE. You did say like WWE, the matches haven't necessarily been hitting. So my interest is like, okay, well, you got me to watch the match and then I watched the match and it hasn't delivered, which has been a lot of the times I've watched in the last while still. So AEW is the opposite, where it's like the wrestling will hit, but the story is all over the place and it's just a match we threw at you randomly. So you kind of watch different things for different shows, but I equally still think wrestling is just hot and great right now. And one final thing before we get out of here is I haven't watched New Japan, the G1. I've been cherry picking, but everyone was raving about Takeshita versus ELP, El Phantasma from New Japan. So I seeked out this match and it was awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
Takeshita is awesome. How is this guy coming in from DDT/AEW? And I don't want to say the word embarrassing, but embarrassing the rest of the roster in making them be like, wow, what have we been doing for the last 3 years? Because all the people we've put in our top stars are gone or broken down golf carts, and in comes Takeshita looking like a fucking stud.
I really hope that when he comes, it baffles me that they're not bringing any attention to this in AEW.
Yeah.
I really hope once this tournament's done, they either put a rocket on this guy in AEW,
Absolutely.
or you go, oh, New Japan, you need a guy right now, have him.
They need a guy. They need a lot, but he could be their guy.
Have him.
He should win the whole damn thing and win the fucking strap.
Honestly, he should. He should. I mean, politics and him not being New Japan, I don't know. I mean, you recently had Mox as the champion, so who knows at this point? But yeah, he's been killing it, and definitely the one to watch in this tournament.
ELP is like El Phantasmo is fun to watch, and I think he's definitely an underrated talent. But this was the match that, like, finally a G1 match that, like, from what I watched, I haven't watched in over a week. Nothing necessarily hit. I watched some of the Takeshita stuff. It was good, but still didn't like knock me out the park. I thought this one finally like hit the way it feels when you watch a good G1 match, and it was LP to do it for me with Takeshita. And Takeshita is one of my favorite. We were at Osprey Takeshita Live.
Yeah,
like one of the best matches I've ever seen. So I think this kid has everything. And the fact that this guy is DDT in AEW and he's not even part of their roster, and he is showing up compared to some of the other guys, like they'd be crazy not to try to make him part of their like main stars, but they're still in trouble. They haven't built these other guys up the way that maybe they tried to.
Well, Yuya Uemura had to pull out as well due to injury. And he is someone who has been like, I liked his match with Takeshita. He's someone who's definitely like, one of those people that could be a top star in that company, which is a real shame he's out due to injury. Looking at the standings right now, we'll be getting to playoffs pretty soon with the top three from each block going through. You've got Zack Sabre Jr. leading the A block with 12 points, Evil with 10, and Tetsuya Naito with 10. So currently they'd be the three going through in the A block. But you have Great Okan, Jake Lee, Sanada, and Shingo Takagi all on 8 points. So all could potentially get through as well. I see it being Zack, Shingo, and Naito, I'd say, from those three. And then in the B block, you've got David Finlay, Ren Narita, and Jeff Cobb all on 10 points, with Hiroki Goto, Konosuke Takeshita, and Yoda Tsuji, and Yuya Uemura, who has just pulled out, all with 8 points. So it's still pretty open. I think Callum Newman is out now. I think Gabe Kidd, El Phantasmo, Shota Umino, Hanare, and Oleg Boltin are all kind of on their last legs. I think they're technically still in, but yeah, it's still all to play for in the G1.
Yeah, I'm going to continue to cherry pick, and then definitely when it comes down to the finals, like, check it out. I always watch that, and I see it. Takeshita should be the one that they somehow work some sort of deal out that, hey, we'll make you our guy, because we don't have anyone in those who could fill that spot in those shoes of some of these people. Like I said, Naito is the star they're clinging on to, who's done the Dome, headlined the Dome a bunch. They're not going to have nearly as much people trying to go to these shows, even with the AEW, CMLL, Stardom, etc. connection, because it's 2 nights of this, and he could be the one that, like, you know, dethrones Naito, because Naito's barely hanging on. I think that
and people go, oh, he's doing the Destino thing deliberately. If that was the case, he wouldn't then hit it correctly in the match. If the thing was he can't hit the Destino,
right,
you have him not hit the Destino until Wrestle Kingdom when he hits a perfect Destino.
Yeah,
it really feels like, yeah, he just can't.
That's been his story for
do it anymore.
He still has good matches when it comes to it, but like he's barely hanging on. I think at least he's definitely being held together by some tape and glue. So that's the same with a bunch of them. And then their other big stars are gone. So like they've definitely been not doing the right things to make some of their characters stand out. And they're going to find out, I think, how tough that it's going to be in the next little while, because what happens if Takeshita is no longer there and just like showed up at this tournament and no one else did? Like Zack Sabre Jr. is someone who could be waiting in the wings, but he's not necessarily someone you could be your flag bearer. Maybe, I'm not sure. But again, just cherry picking. I thought ELP and Takeshita was a tournament show stealer, at least up to this point, because it was great. Some of the Blue Thunder Bomb is not his finish, but it's one of the best looking.
He's finished with it, like it.
It's such a crazy move,
yeah,
man. Like through the tables and all that stuff. Oh, it's awesome. So that is definitely a match I'd recommend.
In the
awesome
post wrestling C block, we're battling it out at the bottom right now. I'm on 43 points. You're on 42 points. Brandon Thurston on 41 points. With the leaders with 47. So I still feel we can make a comeback here. We could have a late surge in the tournament. I've caught a little bit of the N1 as well.
I watched some of the clips today, the sweet looking belly to belly from Tavion, but
Josh Briggs is he's been impressive for me, the matches I've seen, kind of not playing his NXT character though. He's like the just big bully American coming in, but we'll try and catch more of just their matches in particular.
And then one final thing, rest in peace to Kevin Sullivan. Died yesterday at the age of 74. Definite legend of weird shit in wrestling, pretty much playing the devil. And I know there was lots of memes about him and Chris Benoit today and yesterday, but rest in peace, because he used to scare a lot of kids when it came to wrestling.
And one of the big like bookers in wrestling for the last 30 years or so as well.
Exactly. So RIP.
Rest in peace.
Legend for sure. That's it for today. Thank you for listening. Whether you joined us live on the YouTube or repeat or on the podcast form, make sure you hit that subscribe, hit that like, write us a nice little review, hang out in the comment section, let people know to listen to Poison Rana. We appreciate all the support out there, whether you're joining us here on Sundays or on Tuesdays over on Post Wrestling for Up Next. We will be live Tuesday after NXT. And join us at our All In watch party if you can here in Toronto in a couple weeks. That's going to be quite awesome. And check us out on patreon.com/PoisonRana. $5 to get access to hundreds of podcasts, including Was Next, SummerSlam 94, movie reviews, and so much more. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. That's it. That's all. Take care. Goodbye and be safe.
Ahoy!
Poisonrana.